Hey everybody, we're going to look at exploring fractions today. Sorry I cannot be there with you. A quick refresher on what we did last unit. Up here we are multiplying our binomials, so the two terms. Remember that you can do it with box method, and then I'll show you the one with the arrows in just a second. So let's do x plus 7 and x plus 10. If you'll draw these on your paper, you can always push pause. Let me zoom in a little. Alright, remember it is going to be x times x, and we get x squared. Those have a 1 in front of them. So 1 times 10 is 10x. And then you're going to go do the same thing with the 7 and across multiplying here. So 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 10 is 70. When we do box method, we are going to add our diagonals. 7 plus 10 is 17x. They're both positive numbers. We add them together. To bring it all together, we have x squared from the top left. We have our 17x, and then the 70 from our bottom corner. Okay, let's do one with FOIL, with our arrows. When we do our arrows, remember we're going to go from our first terms. Okay, x times x is x squared. Our outside terms, and we have x times negative 10, so negative 10x. Our inside terms, so negative 7x. And then our last terms, negative 7 and negative 10 make a positive 70. We add our middles, just like we added our diagonals on the other problem, we're going to add our middles, okay? A negative 10 and a negative 7 make a negative 17x. And then we bring down our plus 70. Okay. What if let's do box method again for this one. Again, you can always pause or rewind. Your box method again. We have x minus 7 and x plus 10. Okay, x and x make x squared, x times 10, 10x. Now, watch your sign, because negative 7 times x is negative 7x, and negative 7 times 10 is negative 70. When we add our diagonals on this one, it's 10 minus 7, so you get 3x. Be careful, make sure your signs are correct. Bring down that minus 70. Alright, and then what would go in the boxes below? Alright, so if we take a look, it's going to be something times something, right? And it's going to give you this whole thing. So what we can do and figure out is what times what is going to give you 24. Okay? What are two numbers? What are two numbers that multiply to 24. Okay, if you need to zoom in some here. If you need to pause, please do. But 24 is going to be 1 times 24. We can make a little t-chart. 2 times 12. Okay, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Now, if you don't know these, you have a calculator that you can use, and all you would do is take your calculator and do 24 divided by 2, 24 divided by 3, and keep going, right? If I did 24 and we divided by 5, that's when we start getting a decimal. And I know that it can't be a decimal, so I don't write that one down. And if I do 24 divided by 6, I'm working my way back around. I've already done 24 and divided by 6, right? So I don't have to rewrite that one. So be careful. These are all the factors of 24, the numbers that multiply to give you 24. Now what we want is we want two numbers that can add or subtract to give you 10. Okay? We want two numbers that add to give you 10. So out of these, two numbers that add to give you 10. Alright? Why are we saying addition? We're saying addition because they're both minus signs. If we take a look up here at this example, they were both minus signs and they both added to give you negative 17. These two, if we add 4 plus 6, they're going to give you 10. Okay? If we add negative 4 plus negative 6, they're going to give us the negative 10 that we need right up here. So in our box, we're going to put 4 and 6. And that's how we answer this one. Okay, it says here, complete each table by substituting the given values into each quadratic equation and simplify by solving for the y value. Answer the questions. What they're asking you to do is they're asking you to use these numbers, and you're putting them where the x was right here. That's negative 2 into the correct spot. They also put negative 2 right there into this x, so into both spots. They work out the first one, and it gives you 0. Okay, they worked out the second one, and it gave you 0. Now, if we put 0 in for that spot, okay, you can use your calculator. We're going to do, let me clear this, 0 plus 2, 0 plus 1, and you get 2. So I'm going to write 2 right here. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing with a 1. So I want to put 1 plus 2, 1 plus 1. And again, I can do the same thing here, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 1. Do I have to use my calculator? No. It might be helpful. Same thing again, we're going to put a 2 here. So 2 plus 2, 2 plus 1. We're switching out that first number. So 2 plus 2, 2 plus 1. And we get 12. Oop. There we go. Alright, so we plugged in an x value, we got out the y values, we wrote them down. It says for which x values does y equal 0? And we got those in our first ones here. So when x was negative 2 and when x was negative 1. Right. Let's do the next one. Again, you can pause, rewind, go back. Oh, you can't see the, there we go. We're going to plug in the x here and here. And on this first one, we're going to start with a negative 6. So we're going to say y equals negative 6 minus 6. Negative 6 minus 4. Don't forget parentheses. Negative 6 minus 6. Negative 6 minus 4. Alright, and we get 120. We're going to do the same thing, keep going, and make sure you put a negative 4 in for that first number. And then again, negative 4 minus 6, negative 4 minus 4. You get 80. We're going to plug in a 0, 0 minus 6, 0 minus 4. 0 minus 6, 0 minus 4. And you get 24, big jump. And then do the same with 4 and do the same with 6. Again, you can pause, rewind, come back. Let me fill out both of these and then I'll put them in my calculator. Okay, so let's put in both. So we're going to say 4 minus 6 and 4 minus 4, and we get 0. Alright, and then the last one, 6 minus 6 and 6 minus 4, we also get 0. So when it says for which values does, for x values does y equal 0, well, let's look. We just wrote them down, 4 and 6. And the last thing it says, what do you notice about the values of x that y makes zeros? Okay, we're the opposite sign of the factor. And what do I mean by this? Let me use my pink highlighter real quick. If you notice up here, this is the factors that I'm talking about. Notice how it was a plus 2 and this is a minus 2. This was a plus 1, this is a minus 1. What x equals. It's the opposite sign. Okay? This only works out whenever you have a 1 in front of that x. Okay, we're going to look on the back side and figure out how do we solve for ones like this. So, same over here, how they got the 4 and the 6. If you look back up here, we have a negative 6, think of a positive 6. Okay, same with the 4. Alright. On the back side it says using factors to solve. You can't see that, there you go. What we're going to do is it says a whole bunch of things, right? We're going to learn how to factor quadratics, and once it's been factored we can use it and we can solve it. So they've already factored for you, okay? We need to make sure that it's set equal to 0. Super important, it's set equal to 0 first, and now it is already factored. We're going to solve. What we're going to do is we're going to separate. Notice how both of them are set equal to 0 over here. We're going to take them apart. So 2x plus 3 equal to 0, and then x plus 1 equal to 0. We're just separating, setting them equal to 0. And now we solve, okay? It says now solve, and it gives you an example here of how they did it. But we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. That's the opposite. 2x equals negative 3, and then divide. You divide by what's in front of x. X equals negative 3 over 2, and I just did not have enough room, so I wrote it over here. Okay? Do the same here, we just need to subtract 1 to the other side, and we're done. Alright, that one wasn't bad. Number 2 looks a little different. It only has 3x on the outside of that parentheses, and then x minus 8. This 3x is going to come down and set equal to 0. Okay, let me zoom in some. And this x minus 8 gets an equal to 0. Both of them get set equal to 0, and then we solve. On this one, all we have to do to solve is divide by 3. And if you take 0 and divide by 3 in your calculator, it will still give you 0. If you add 8, it's the opposite sign. You get 8 for your answer. Alright. That one was pretty easy. Anytime we try and divide into 0, it is still 0. This one, it says x plus 8 and x plus 8. Well, we're going to set both of them equal to 0. But since they're both the same, they're going to have the same steps, right? We're going to minus 8, and we get our answer. If we set this one equal to 0, we're going to minus 8, and we get our answer. It happens to be the same thing. Alright? So we can use our factors and we can solve. Set it equal to 0, solve for x. And then the last little section, it gives you a lovely example, and you can read through that model. Okay? What it's trying to do is we're going to try and work backwards. So what they mean is we're going to divide by our 4x. So this example, they give you 4x, they give you this, and over here it's showing that you're dividing by 4x to figure out what goes on top. And you're dividing 12x by 4x to figure out what goes on top. And that's what they did over here. And it looks like a mess with the arrows, but that's kind of what it did, okay? So what are we doing on these 6 problems? So let's take a look. We're going to ask ourselves, how many times can 3x go into 9x squared? Well, that is a little bit weird way to say 3 times what gives me 9. Okay, if you don't know, use your calculator, and you're going to use it, and you're just going to divide 9 divided by 3. You can't put the x's in there, but you can put the whole numbers. So I'm going to write a 3 up here, because I know 3 times 3 is 9. This has an x. This one says it's supposed to have 2, so an x has to go here. 3 times what gives you 15? Again, if you don't know this, you can take your calculator and divide, and we get 5, and we'll have a plus sign. Now there is already an x out here, and there's only one x in here, so I know I don't put anything. This is my answer. Okay? The other day, when we, and like on the top of our paper, or the front side of our paper, we were putting things on the outside of the box and filling in the inside. This time around, they give you the inside. We're going to try and figure out what they multiplied by. So 2 times what gives you 18? Again, you can use your calculator. You get 9. And there's an x here. There has to be an x here. That's how we make x squared in the middle of your box. right, last one here. 2 times what gives you negative 4? So you could take negative 4 and divide by 2, and it will give you negative 2. So it's going to be minus 2. That is going to be your answer. All right, there's 4 more. Okay, 5 divided into 5 is only just 1 time. And then x and x make x squared. 5 goes into 10 2 times. And we already have that x right out here, so this is our answer here. Okay, down here, you can put negative 6 divided by 3 in your calculator. Let me show that. Negative 6 divided by 3, and you get negative 2, and then we put an x because we want it to be x squared when you multiply this times this. And then negative 3 divided by 3, if you want to put it in your calculator, will give you negative 1. And again, we already have the x that's out there. This is your answer. Let's try the next one. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and we put our x. And negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1, and we already have our x out there. Okay, this one is almost exactly the same as this one. We just had a negative out in front of the 6. There's the difference. All right, this one, it says you will need to find both sides of this box. They don't have anything out here, and they don't have anything on top. So we're going to do both sides. So what I want you to do is over here in the white space, we're going to say what makes 6. What times what makes 6? 1 times 6, 2 times 3. And what times what makes 15? 1 times 15, 3 times 5. What do they have in common? What number do they have in common is what we want to figure out. Well, they have a 3 in common. So this is going to go here on the outside. Notice how they both have an x. So we're going to put an x on the outside. And now we can figure out 3 times what gives us 6. Well, we already have that answer here. 3 times 2. And we know it has to have an x. And 3 times what gives us 15? Well, we already have that here. It's the 5. Now this is going to be a negative 5, and we can make sure by using our calculator. Okay, negative 15 divided by 3, and we would get negative 5. The x is already out here, so we don't have to have that. So sometimes you have to do both numbers when there's nothing out in front. This, what we did over here by circling, we circled our greatest common factor. And I know you haven't done that since middle school, but we're going to talk more about greatest common factor later this week or into next. So I hope you had a good 4-day break. Okay, I'm sorry I can't be there today. Once you get done with these notes, you're going to move on to this page. Okay, this page is like what we did here on number 4 at the front of our notes. You're going to look at what 2 numbers multiply to give you this last one. Okay, remember we said what 2 numbers multiply to give you 24, and then we added to get that negative 10. Okay, you are going to do that for these 6 problems. Try your best. You have problems on the back side, multiple choice. Let me zoom out. And then there's a stapled page. You can practice your multiplying. If you want to start here, you can start here. And then just some more examples. Okay? Plenty of work you can be working on. And then if you have any missing assignments, do those missing assignments. All right? I will leave an answer key with the sub if you need it to check. Do your best on these. Okay? What I would do, let me work one with y'all. The factors of 6, right? You'd put 6 over here, 1 times 6, 2 times 3, and you want them to add to be 5. And the only ones that can, add or subtract. So these, they're gonna subtract to give you 5. Okay? One of them has to be a positive 1, and one of them has to be a negative 6. Okay, because negative 6 plus 1 will give you negative 5. All right, if you did it the other way, it wouldn't give you a negative 5, it would give you a positive 5 if you said 6 minus 1. So we want our signs to go here and here. If you multiply it back, it will give you a negative 6. On the bottom two, you do have to move them around so they're set equal to 0. So you would minus 8 over to this side. X squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to 0. And now you can do what we did up there on number 2. Same here, subtract 12 over to the other side. Alright, we'll go back over these more whenever I see you again on Thursday. Do the best you can on this front side. At least finish the multiplying over here. Try the multiple choice on the back side of the page. Do the best you can. Finish any missing homeworks you might have.